You see them frequently, but if you're like me, you haven't given them much thought. Clouds are a part of our everyday lives, but do we know much about them? Clouds are a very important part of our environment. They influence the Earth's energy balance, climate, and weather. Online research through NASA, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and the National Weather Service has helped me understand just exactly what clouds are. I'm going to tell you what clouds are, how they're made, and why they're different. First, I'll explain what makes up a cloud. NASA tells us that a cloud is made up of different particles that are floating in the sky. One component of the cloud is water droplets or small ice crystals. The other component is some sort of solid particle such as dust, dirt, sea salt, or ice. Second, let's look at the process of how clouds are formed. The National Center for Atmospheric Research helps us understand this process. The sun heats up bodies of water, causing them to evaporate. The water molecules enter into the atmosphere. Then the molecules can do one of two things. One is to heat up. When the water molecules heat up, they move faster. And as they move faster, they'll evaporate, which means they turn from a liquid to vapor. This means that the molecules will separate out from each other and not group together to form that cloud. The other thing that the molecules could do is to cool down. When the water cools down, they move slower. And as they move slower, they begin to group together and stick to the solid particles that are floating in the sky, such as the dirt or the dust, and it causes this to make a cloud. This process is called condensation. Third, what happens to a cloud once it's formed? Once the cloud's formed, it will either eventually evaporate or create some sort of precipitation. To evaporate, the air must warm up and cause the molecules to begin to move faster again. This causes them to break up. And when they break up, the cloud dissipates and there's no more cloud. They can then either evaporate after that or condense again, forming a new cloud. If a cloud continues to condensate, it will reach a peak limit before the gravity begins to take control. Gravity will act on these larger droplets, causing them to fall down to the ground, forming precipitation. Now, depending on the temperature, the air droplets will fall in different forms. The droplets will fall as rain during warmer temperatures, and then they'll fall as snow during the colder temperatures, and in between temperatures can cause sleet. The precipitation then collects in the bodies of water, and once collected, the process repeats itself over and over again, and this process is called the water cycle. As you can see in this diagram, this kind of helps explain the water cycle itself. The sun heats up the water, it evaporates, and then it condenses into the cloud, precipitates, and then collects down and begins the process again. Just as there are different forms of precipitation, there are different types of clouds. NASA tells us that clouds are named based off of two things. The first is the location in the sky, and this is pretty simple. They're either high in the sky, in the middle of the sky, or low in the sky. Now some clouds can even touch the ground, and these clouds are called fog. The second is the shape of the cloud. And the National Weather Service tells us that there are 10 basic cloud types, and you can refer to the PowerPoint slides for pictures of the following. High clouds include 3 different types, and they're shown on slide 1. Cirrus, which are detached, wispy, hair-like clouds. Cirrostratus, which are transparent, veil-like clouds that nearly always cover the sky. Cirrocumulus, which are the thin and patchy sheets of cloud. And then the middle clouds include 3 different types as well, as shown on slide 2. Altostratus, which are gray or bluish sheets that partially cover the sky. Altocumulus, which are the white, grayish, patchy rolls or ripples, kind of looks like corn rows or something. Nimbostratus, which are the thick, dark gray clouds that are accompanied with rain or snow usually. Now the low clouds include 4 different types, and you can find these on slide 3. Cumulus, which are the dense, big white clouds that have the really big puffy tops and the relatively flat base. Stratus, which is a really thick, large, uniform cloud. It just looks like a really big, long sheet, kind of like a pillow. Cumulonimbus, they're called the thunderstorm cloud. They're the ones that produce the hail and tornadoes. And they're the really heavy, dense clouds that form like a really big mountain or tower-like effect. And then lastly is the stratocumulus, which are the really dense, patchy groups of clouds that can have included rolls or smaller clusters around it. And now you have a better understanding of just what clouds are. And by understanding what clouds are, we'll be better able to understand our environment. And now you understand what exactly clouds are made of, how they're made, and what different types of clouds there are.